to bake one cake. And you need gas, you need everything else. It doesn't just come like that. You need money for those things. So that alone, to start a cake business, most of the time when I bake a cake, half of the money I make I use it to reinvest to buy cake tools, because you need to learn, you need to grow every day.
Yeah. That is from my own angle of business. So other businesses as well. Take for instance, you want to be a fashion designer. In Nigeria, most people say, okay, I'm a fashion designer, I'm a fashion entrepreneur. You want to sew clothes. Okay, before you decide going into that business, you need to have a tailoring machine.
Yeah,
that is money. You need to buy it. You need to sew, collect materials. You need to buy them for you to sew, to show people that, okay, I can do this. And in Nigeria, we want to see, what we see is what we believe. You can't come and meet me and say, oh, I know how to sew and I believe you. I need to see what you have sewn.
Let me cut in. I repeat, you can start any business. In fact, most businesses without one naira in your pocket. I would like to be challenged with one business that you think you cannot start with.
But
money.
She's just mentioned
and I'm going to tell you, you talked about cake making.
Yeah,
I can sell your cake and make more money than you.
Definitely.
Because I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
The problem is not starting at that level when you are established already. If you start at the level where you are established already, you'll be looking for 1 million naira to start a business. If I want to be involved with cake making, I will get attached to somebody like you that is already established.
Definitely.
And I will work with you. If you like, give me the opportunity to go and volunteer. I'll do volunteering and come and start understudying you. If I don't want to understudy you, I will just come and tell you, can I help you sell your cake?
But Mr. Francis, isn't that eating into her own profit, the money she's meant to make?
No. He necessarily, in Abuja, there are a lot of people that do that.
Really?
They have different cake vendors and they just run an Instagram page. You order from their page and they come to me and say, I want cake. But if everybody thinks like you do, then who will be the cake bakers?
You see the problem? They are already cake bakers and there will always be cake bakers.
Okay.
We are talking to people who don't have capital to start business.
Yeah.
And that's the orientation. A lot of people are sitting down at home today waiting to receive and save that money that they will use to start that business.
Okay.
If you don't have money and your objective is to raise money to buy the equipment, volunteer. Get 5 cake bakers. Go to them and tell them you'll be selling for them. As you sell for them and put it on Instagram, the internet is the biggest market today. The internet is bigger. The traffic you get on the internet is bigger than the traffic you ever get. So if I take your wares and take the pictures of 5 cake designers and I put it on Instagram and I put my phone number there and those pictures, more people will call me a day than they will call you. And I don't have capital. But if I do this for 6 months, I will have raised enough money to start buying those equipment. And as I'm raising the money, I'm picking your ideas on how you do your cake. I repeat, every form of business you can start with little or not, including farming. You can start a school without 1 naira in your pocket. You can start a shop without a dime in your pocket. I want to be challenged. Is there any business out there that you want to start? I will tell you how you can start it with little or nothing. I also tell you how you can start simple businesses. Selling sugarcane, selling any item you have in the market. You can make 1 million naira a month selling those items by packaging and getting people to sell for you. Sugarcane is still packaged in Nigeria. The way our forefathers packaged sugarcane, we did not go to school.
Yeah.
We still sell sugarcane on wheelbarrows.
Yes.
Unhygienic, unpresentable, but we are still doing it with all the.
If you don't want to do this, just leave it. If you don't, a lot of people have put attitude into their businesses, and I try to do mine differently. I try to put my customers' feelings first. Most of the time they tell me, oh, I want this. I'm like, I can't do this, but I'll try to make it up with this. I take that relationship very seriously, because in a place like Nigeria, what makes you grow fast? I try to look at business from the scratch. There are businesses you look at from up there, but average, very very low background. That's why I try to look at my business perspective from. So the way you talk to people, I feel mouth to mouth. Like if I do something, if I make a cake for you, you tell this person, oh, she made this cake for me. I'm like, okay, I'll use her. She calls me, and it keeps moving, and that's how it moves.
Yeah.
Very fast.
And you don't need an Instagram page for that.
No, yes, you don't need Instagram. There are a lot of businesses, like a lot of cake bakers. They don't even post stuff on their businesses, but they make millions of money every month from cake.
Instagram is not, sometimes is not overrated actually, but it's not as easy as it is. Like what he was saying, you just put up your page, put your phone number. What would make people convinced to follow you?
The picture.
You just, you post pictures, yes, definitely, but it's not easy, it's not simple. There are a lot of other pages. So what makes you, why would people follow you? It's very difficult.
The market is too big. We get too sophisticated. In fact, in Nigeria, we are over sophisticated. That's our biggest problem.
That's our problem.
It's the biggest problem we have.
I thought that was a good thing.
You see, we're speaking English. There are a lot of people that are educated today. Why are we not using the education? Our education system does not translate people from the courses they read to the practical life. If you go to China today, they are beginning to make some basic things for people that are coming out of university. They must go to entrepreneurship. They must go to the ICT platform that exposes them.
Yeah.
I just told you, I was talking about entrepreneurs. When you talk entrepreneurs in Nigeria, it's the successful ones we are talking about. The quantum of people that we need to address are the people that are not doing anything.
Yeah.
The people that are in employment today that are earning salaries that cannot take them home are the ones we'll be talking about.
Yeah.
We have over 20,000 people that are out there working as civil servants, earning salaries that cannot take them home when you divide the salary they earn every month by 30 days. We have a lot of people who sit at home and say they've graduated, they are not doing anything currently. I am telling you that's where we're addressing. You don't need 1 naira to start any business. And I repeat it. And if you are in any business, you can double the volume of business with simple strategies. The market is very big. Our market is big. Drop a Nigerian to tell you that Nigerians are actually talented. Drop a Nigerian in China. Doesn't understand the language. The environment is very harsh. Is getting to the country for the first time. They survive. Go and look at the Igbo people in the market. They bring their people from who don't understand English. Give them 6 months. They can open a shop of their own. What we need to do is to continuously open people's eyes and reorientate the minds of our people. A lot of our people are educated, but they can't practice the education. The people who brought education to Nigeria, they don't go to school the way we go to school anymore. We are over-schooled. Too many universities. I'm saying here now that you can start a business without 1 naira in your pocket. I want someone to challenge me with one big business, and I'm going to give you an example of how I can do an estate without 1 naira in my pocket. Using the power of collaboration.
You mean housing estate? Housing
estate without 1 naira in my pocket. Now I got a man that wanted to sell his land in Mabuchi, 40 million naira. The land will take 6 townhouses, and each of those houses in the area they sell between 60 and 80 million naira. And I told this young man that he says he's retiring, needs the money to start business. I say, I will build the 6 houses. I will give you 2. He asked me, how long will it take? I said, it will take only 1 year. We signed the contract. He gave me his title document and I put it in the bank. If I give him 2 of those houses and he's able to sell for 60 million naira, he will make 120 million naira as against 40 million naira. I've given him value. I've taken an estate without paying for land. Now I have a platform where I teach people how to start business with little or nothing, and how they can double their businesses, and how they can become landlord in 12 months. They register in the platform. I have over 22,000 of them already in the platform. And I went to them and I told them, I'm building a house. It's 60 to 80 million naira, but I'm willing to sell to you today for 40 million naira each. A driver in that platform sold one of those houses for 45 million naira, and he made 5 million naira. A rich man who wanted to double his money bought the other unit, and they asked me, how are they sure if they give me this money now, I will not divert the money? I told them not to give me the money, that you keep the money in the bank. I will fix the money in the bank, and if I don't give them their keys, I can't access the money. And I fixed the money in the bank for 1 year. And I went to the bank and I told the bank to give me a bank guarantee. I engaged a construction company to come and build the 6 houses as a contract. And I told him, your money is in the bank waiting for you. And I gave the man the bank guarantee. That estate is completed. If I can build an estate without putting 1 naira in it, challenge me with that business. Any business in Nigeria that is elementary, that you want to start from the scratch, I will tell you how you can start without 1 naira in your pocket. Challenge me, I will tell you how to start a school without 1 naira in your pocket. Now, there are attributes that you must have to position you to get to assess people, to be acceptable, and to be able to relate to people. You must think positive. You must have the right mindset. The right mindset is thinking of what you want to do and believe in it. And I tell people, if you determine to want to travel to Lagos tomorrow and you want to wake up as early as 6 a.m. in the morning, your spirit will not sleep. You wake up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You will look at the time zone and tell yourself, oh, let me sleep for 1 more hour before I wake up. Exactly that 1 hour you will wake up.
You wake up.
It's the same thing with creating wealth.
Yeah.
Tell yourself today that you want to make 1 million naira a month. Your spirit will not sleep until you start making that 1 million naira. When you sleep in when you sit in the confines of your toilet, the ideas to make the 1 million naira will come. You need to set that seed in your mind of what you want to do, and that's where a lot of us fail. A lot of people fail because they don't aspire to do anything. They come with the fear, I don't have enough education. Entrepreneurs, I don't have enough education, I can't speak well. If education is the prerequisite for creating wealth, professors of economics should be very rich. Some come and tell you they don't have capital to start business.
Yeah.
If starting business is money related, every rich man's child in Nigeria should be rich. There was a man that was the richest man in Africa when he was alive. He's dead. The children cannot make ends meet. Will you say they don't have capital? Will you say the ex-president's children don't have capital to start business? Money is not what you need. What you need is the right mindset, the right packaging, and the right network of people that you relate with.
Okay.
Because you'll be influenced on how you can actually take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I repeat, every business has a beginning. You can start a farm without 1 naira in your pocket. And that's what I teach. I'm exposing people to basic wealth education. And what we need in Nigeria to solve unemployment problem by over 20% is to reorientate our people and change the educational system. Introducing the educational system vocational programs, entrepreneurship programs that will open the eyes of people before they come out.
Okay.
NGOs to sponsor, politicians to sponsor people, to enlighten people, because we have an orientation that our leaders have created. They don't want to work, they make money. So everybody around them want to do the same thing.
Okay.
We are losing our creativity. You can use a pot of soup to make 1 million naira a month.
You know, I like the fact that you're going high up there, not 100K, not 250K. You're always,
because that is the mindset of our young men and women today.
But for instance, let's say I have a business that has failed. This is not a fresh graduate trying to. I have a business, it's failed, it's a salon, you know, all the old hair dryers and the rest of it is in my house. I'm not using it anymore. How do I pick up from there? What do I do? Because there are people that are watching conversations now that can relate to what I'm saying. I tried the business, I put my whole heart and everything into it. I saved, I sold this, I sold my gold to start a business, and it failed.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here?
Those are actually the majority of my clients, people that have a passion for something and end up not having a clue how to actually run the business once they've got it set up, and then end up failing. And it is true, you do need the mindset to pick yourself back up. But what I encourage my clients to do is audit. Have a really good look at everything that you've gained over the period that you were running that business. You have resources, so you have the hair dryers, you have maybe you have the sinks or whatever it is that you accumulated. Do you still want to run a hairdressing salon? If you want to run a hairdressing salon, look for a way that you can possibly do that from your home, because you already have the equipment. Look for a method that you can maybe hire someone to rent the equipment from you, and then you're doing something else within the same field. What I like to do is explain it in this way. Think of the easiest entry point to your next step. When I first started running my business, not this business, but a business when I was 19, I got a lot of success very quickly. And I was in newspapers, I was winning awards, I had 75 people in my team, and I was running, everything was going so smoothly, but I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going. It was just every blessing, every luck that could come my way was coming my way. And eventually it got to a point where I don't know what I'm doing. I'm leading all these people down a dark alley. It's all going to crumble down, and it did. And it's because of that experience, I can say, these are the skills I learned in that time. This is what I learned to do. This is how I learned to do it. I learned to build websites, I learned to market, I learned to advertise, I learned to do all of those things in that time. And that helped me pivot into what I'm doing now. With those experiences, those connections, those contracts that I gained, I moved it all into, okay, what did I learn and what can I do with it now? It's about thinking about what you want to do as a gold coin in the center of the room.
and you have to figure out how many steps it's going to take you to get there.
Okay.
Take the easiest possible step today, then take the easiest possible step tomorrow, and keep going until you get to the center of the room.
Okay.
Because you can't get from 0 to 60 in a day, 3 days. We think about cars and think, oh, 0 to 60, but you forget that the machine goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. It just happens to do it very quickly. So you need to map out what you're going to do, I say a year's time. And you asked about tools and resources that people can get on the internet and things like that. Because of this, because like I said at the beginning of this conversation, my business is a social enterprise. So our social mission is on par with the profit-making aspect of it. And that's why we actually release a lot of things for free. Okay. So on our website, I hope you don't mind if I plug it, but it's dirtnownow.com. We have something called the Grow Everyday Accelerator. And it's for anyone that's running a tech-enabled business, someone that uses social media to market themselves. We've created a 6-week course that brings you in the mindset that you need to run a business with the information that you need to run a business, and helps you plan out the next year of your business. Okay. And it comes with feedback and homework and a Facebook group and one-on-one coaching sessions with me for free, so that you can really understand what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because I am so passionate about the young people of this country. I'm so passionate about people gaining employment and wages.
Yeah.
Because 12 million people entering the workforce every year and not able to get a job because there aren't the jobs out there. You need to start thinking differently. Yeah. You need to start thinking about what you are passionate about as a human being and what you want to contribute to the formal economy.
Yeah. You know, I'm very moved with what you said, because I think I'm at the stage of my life where I just seem to have a lot of people that need a lot from me. So that doesn't even leave me with enough. You know, they call it corporate begging now. You know, the people that you don't even think need money, and they're asking, you know, they're sapping so much from those that are actually earning, and so you're left with even, you know, little, and those ones just don't want to get up and do something. So I'm really happy that this show is here to just encourage people that, you know, you need to get out there and do something for yourself. It's yeah.
Nigerians are talented. They're just sitting at home doing nothing. Look at the number of people that are in employment today. A young lady walked into my office. The average salary of the young people that are coming up now that are working is between 18,000 and 30,000 naira. And I asked her, how much do you earn for a living? He said 30,000 naira a month. I said divide that 30,000 naira by 30 days, so you know how much you really earn every day. It translated to 1,000 naira. And I asked her, how much do you pay to and fro to this work that you go to? He said 600 naira. I said, how much do you eat every day on the break time for food? He said 500 naira. I said, how much do you spend on the average on your airtime and data? He said 200 naira. I said, what is your take home daily? So you understand why you don't need to go to that work. It translated to minus 300 naira. And they walk through the streets of Nigeria with the monies in the streets of Nigeria. They are not picking it. You don't need any money to start any business. What you need to do is to package yourself well, have the right mindset, make the right friends that will influence you. Use the arithmetic sign to select your friends, the minus, the plus, the division, and the multiplication. Stay around people that are positive and multipliers. They will influence you positively. You can volunteer to somebody who is doing something very well and learn from the person. If you start a business without a dime in your pocket, you can never fail, because you will fail before you start making the money to buy the equipment. But if you go get an uncle to give you money to buy the equipment, you will fail because you will not understand the basis of running a business. The Igbo people in the market, they understand the rudiments of the business. They come fresh and they go attached to somebody, and all they do is just sales and looking at what the boss does. And before time, they will know the major importance that you have in that town. And when they open a shop, it's the sample of the items that they actually sell in the shop. There is no investment in that shop. Give our young people today 1 million naira to go and start a shop, because they cannot manage the overheads, the rents, the things that you need to buy to stock the shop, the generator, the diesel. They will fail because they've not gone through businesses to understand that you need to focus on your 80-20 rule. If you want to do any business, I want to come back to you. You can double your business today by focusing on 5 major customers that can give you 80% of the volume of business that you get. Don't go out marketing 100 people. Don't try to be a marketer if you're not a marketer. Focus on production. Employ 5 people that will market for you. They will make the money to pay their salaries. And when you're employing, don't employ your relatives. Don't employ people from the same local government with you. Don't employ people that are in the same religious set with. They will fail you, and you will become sentimental about employment. And you employ people that are redundant, doing nothing, and they will destroy your business. If you employ right, and you get focused on 5 major customers, those 5 major customers could be characteristics of somebody that influences people to give you cake business to do. It could be a church that have their marriage seminars and all that. Go to the catechist in the Catholic Church, get 5 of them, and tell them anything you sell through them or they give you, you give them 20% of whatever you get from them. You will have those churches giving you orders that you cannot handle. That is a point of contact. The next point of contact that you should look at is people who are event managers, a big event manager. Tell them, I want to be attached to you. I'm a cake designer. When you have any wedding, give me the opportunity to do the cake. When you see someone that is into wedding gowns and all that, go there and tell the person, add me to the number of businesses that you do. Put me in your catalog. You don't need to open those areas to do more cake. When you finish doing that, get somebody that knows how to do the internet. Use the internet very well and plug into the internet. Pay the person 50,000 naira to be your social media salesman. You will sell cakes that you cannot produce. And by the time you start doing that, you start employing more people to do it. And if you are small in the cake business, attach to 5 major cake designers and tell them I will be selling for you along what I'm selling. So if you are doing a style that people come and they don't have your style, you'll be able to get them to do the style. The last one is, if you don't have a shop in Wuse 2, in the high streets of Abuja, go to a shop that is doing something similar to what you are doing. Offer to put your cake stand there and tell the person that sell whatever you want to sell. Take 20% and give me 80%. You can sell your cake in ShopRite. You don't need to pay rent to put your cake on the high street. That is your business. And I'm saying that anybody that has any type of business, I will show you how you can double the volume of business that you're doing. And for those who have not started anything at all, let them come. For those who have money, we have a lot of people that have money who don't know what to do. Let them come. We'll show them how they can put their money in the bank. Their money will be working for them without me touching the money. Money flows in the streets of Nigeria. We don't do certain things. Our education system needs to be retweaked. China is not turning graduates anymore. If you do vocational program, you make more money than the graduate that we have today in university. And if you are a graduate, please go back and learn the vocational skill. Because the vocational skill will pay you more than getting employment as a civil servant that will pay you 30,000 naira. And continue to mortgage your youth and have nothing to do before you get to the age of 65 when you retire to nothing.
When it comes to these things, I like to be very, very look at it from an everyday, what practical, you see everyday practical angle. He said something about go to event managers. I mentioned earlier that I plan events. I worked with an event planning company, and I just started out my own event planning firm. In Abuja, for instance, you come to me, okay, I want you to plan my event. Everybody wants a Bella Naija wedding. For instance, everybody wants, okay, cake by this top artist, makeup by this top artist. You can't meet an event manager and say, okay, I want to do this. You would get, probably in 6 months, you get probably 1 job. That's if the person really likes you. Because most people want to use people that are already very, very popular.
Okay.
People that everybody knows because they want to hear that name, even if they don't even give them up to the standard of what they want. That's growing to that extent now is what I want you to analyze for me.
Yes.
Then on another angle, okay, the angle you mentioned about you going to meet other people to collaborate and say, okay, a shop in Wuse too. I get that part, but talk about a student in Gwagwalada now. A student that is just in the university. She came from, let's say, Akure to come to Abuja to school. She's just the average person. How do you, okay, you now, you want to make money? Because I was looking at some Instagram pages. Someone said she would coach you. She's your life coach, well coach, this, have a one-on-one session with her. You pay 60,000. How do you want someone in Gwagwalada that is squatting in someone's house to give you 60,000 naira to teach her how to grow her business?
Can I tell you something? I want to start with what you just said now. You talked about the issue of you looking for one person to partner with that. Some of them have names. How many people can afford those name cakes in Nigeria? That is 1% of the population.
I was going to say that.
How can you be going after people that are don't go and sell cake to the 1% of the population. You will not make money. Bonvita is themed. Bonvita thing is sold in the rich area. The rich children not drink Bonvita anymore. Do Bonvita with that thing, take it to Yan, you will not sell. But put it in sachets, you will sell over 1 million pieces of that Bonvita. If you are a cake designer, look at your market. Create the market that you really know is your market. And let me tell you, the cake designers we have in Abuja, they are over 1,000.
More than.
If I want to partner with you and you are making it difficult, I will move on to the next cake designer that is as good as you. What I'm telling you now is that you don't even need to be that name. Just go and tell the person that has the name, I will bring business for you.
Okay.
You are a cake designer. If they come, you say, I'm an agent to that man. Don't limit yourself to the thought of, I want to be up there. Up there is very quiet. You sell more in the poor market than in the rich market. The rich people don't buy. Look at Abuja today. Those who are into real estate, go to Mitaman and Sokoro. Half of the houses are empty. Go to Yanya and look at the number of houses that are empty. Which market do you want to really play in? You sell a house in Mitaman for 20 years. You sell 100. If you come to my class and I tell you what to do with your cake, you will make over 10 million naira selling cakes.
Okay, sorry to cut you again. Like I said, I like to look at it very practically. I talked about a young girl coming from Akure to come to Abuja to school, and she's trying to say, okay, well, maybe I do small chops and this. She needs to take her business. You would charge her money?
No.
You wouldn't charge her money?
Anybody, I've just said it earlier. Anybody that has idea and money is the problem to start a business. I don't give monies. I give education. I give basic wealth education skills to people to learn. Okay. You can follow me on Twitter. I can actually give you tips.
You talked to us about women being impulse buyers, and because conversations is tailored towards the women. I mean, men, we love you too, but it's tailored towards the women first. Could you talk to us about how we can manage or curtail impulse buying as women?
If you are a woman, please make your list, your shopping list before you go out to the market. If you don't have a shopping list, you will buy rubbish. Because women are attracted to what they see. If you go to the market, go to Wuse market now with some monies, and you don't go with a list, you'll be buying things that you see that you like. And at the end of the day, when you come back home and put these items down, you will see that they're all useless. That's why I said in the last program that men are better managers of money. But women, if a woman does a list, she will go and pick the list of what he buys. And women has the instincts for business. You don't have to tell women to profile themselves, because they already know how to package themselves. That's the problem I have with my male students. Yeah. Women are better packagers, so they package well. Women have intuition. If you teach a woman how to think positive and how to have ideas, it will do wonders, because they have so many things they can do. A woman that just is not leaving school can actually be doing makeup and all that and is making money. Do you know you can actually be a cook, can make 1 million naira a month? Going to cook for different people, or cook a pot of soup and get 6 graduates to go and sell it to 2,000 naira each, you will make 1 million naira a month.
Lena, I don't know if you have any tips to any of the entrepreneurs listening out there.
Basically, my view to entrepreneurship, I always put it side by side with passion as well. So passion is what brings me to where I am.
Okay.
It's just the passion. So what I would like to tell people, young women especially, if you like something, do that thing, but try to be different. Don't try to do it because every other person is doing it. Don't try to do it. Try to do yours differently, and I'm sure that somewhere you get to where you want to be. Okay. Just create a bigger picture. Don't look at it from where you're standing. A bigger picture. Then, like what she said, you look for, you take easy steps. Like what they say in business, you take baby steps. Just 1, 2, 3 steps, and you move forward. That's the thing.
All right, Bayo, any last words?
I wish there was more time, because I really do enjoy talking about female empowerment in the entrepreneurship space. And my last words will be about that. Women are incredible business starters. The problem is women tend to fail easily in business because there is a lack of objectivity when it comes to running a business. We tend to run businesses like we're mothers and wives, taking care of it, nurturing it, making sure that we're needed throughout every single aspect of it. But what I try to teach my clients is about the long-term planning, like you were just saying. It's about being sustainable, about creating a business that doesn't rely on you. The joke I tell is, I run my business so that I can sleep more, so that I don't need to be there. I can live my life and the business runs itself. So when you start thinking about what you need to do to create a business that can run by itself, you're on the right track to building a real successful business.
And empowering other people.
Thank you, Bayo. Thank you, Lina. Mr. Francis?
Just want to reiterate that money flows in the streets of Nigeria. You don't need 1 naira to start a business.
Thank you so much for joining us, and see you again soon. Goodbye.
NTA2Lagos Network Center. Like the vintage wine.
A very good morning and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. I am Cliff Ayozia.
And I am Kenneth Emma Abolike. Thanks for joining us. Now the top stories.
President Muhammad Buhari says tenure and elongation of both national and state officers of APC unconstitutional.
All Progressives Congress, APC. All Progressives Congress, APC, expresses absolute confidence in the ability of the governing party to retain power in 2019.
Nigeria, or we the masses will accept the approach so that this thing will continue like that. This year we can't vote for PDP and we can't forgive them. Nigerians react to apology by the People's Democratic Party.
Senate refutes allegation of demanding bribe to pass budget.
And now the news. President Muhammad Buhari
has formally broken his silence on the contentious issue of tenure and relegation for national and state executive officers of the party, saying the plan is not only unconstitutional, but capable of putting the governing APC at a grave risk.
The president, who stated this while addressing the National Executive Committee of the APC, insists that dictates of the party and national constitutions must be strictly followed. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
It was a meeting full of hopes and expectations as the National Executive Committee members reconvened to conclude deliberations on burning issues affecting the party which were inconclusive at the last meeting. The issue of tenure elongation for national and state executive officers of the party, already approved by the majority at that meeting, may not have been part of the agenda for consideration, as indicated in the chairman's opening remarks.
Basic issues to conclude today. The first, of course, is a review, a rather elaborate review of the party constitution, and the second, report on true federalism, which is an interpretation in clear terms of the APC manifesto as it affects the future of this nation.
But in a swift and significant move that altered the tone of the meeting, President Muhammadu Buhari spoke of the urgent need to resolve all outstanding issues and consolidate plans towards making the governing APC the strongest defender of public interest.
In particular, I think it is important for me to speak quickly on the contentious issue of the tenure of our national and state executive officers. I have taken some time to review and seek advice on the resolution, and what I found is that it contravenes both our party constitution and the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Quoting relevant sections of both the APC and Nigeria's constitutions to buttress his position, the president said what is expected under the present circumstances is for the party to conduct fresh elections once the tenure of the current executives ends.
A caretaker committee cannot remedy the situation and cannot validly act in place of elected officers. I think if we deviate from the constitutional provisions, we might be endangering the fortunes of our party. If the tenure of our party executives can be legally faulted, then it means that any nominations and primary elections that they may conduct can also be faulted. This is not talk of divisions that would arise, and is already arising within the party when some of our members feel that they are being denied the right to aspire to executive positions, and that internal democracy is not explained within the party.
President Buhari is of the firm belief that it is better to follow strictly the dictates of the party and national constitutions rather than put the APC and its activities at grave risk.
Fortunately, we have already approved a timetable for the holding of congresses and elections. I think this should be allowed to go forward, and all efforts should now be geared to making them a great success. We should not allow our party to be vulnerable to the opposition by delaying us or to divide us further within the party.
During the meeting, the party congratulated the president for what it described the miraculous release of deputy school girls and prayed for the protection and safe return of Leah Sharibu, who demonstrated uncommon courage in her faith. A moment of silence was also observed in honor of the 5 deputy school girls that lost their lives during the trying moment, as well as the late Senator Ali Wakili and Dr. Hassan Lawan. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Executive Council of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has agreed to set up a technical committee to advise the party on how to address lingering issues of tenure extension that was raised during its meeting a month ago.
This was among other critical issues of importance that dominated discussion at the National Executive Council meeting held in Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi reports.
The second National Executive Council meeting provided opportunity for party leaders to review party's operations with a view to consolidating its gains and coming up with more ideas on how to strengthen the party and ensure it maintains relevance in governance. Governor of Kogi State Yahya Bello and the National Publicity Secretary of the APC Bolaji Abdullahi briefed the media at the end of the closed-door meeting. They say so much progress has been made in resolving contemporary issues such as the ongoing constitutional amendment of the party, the report of the party's committee on true federalism, as well as the proposed tenure extension of the current National Working Committee.
So members of NEC thank the President for the graciousness of saying, look, even despite he has held a position, that's still saying that he wanted an input of the members of NEC. The NEC decided to set up a small team to advise the party on the way forward on this matter. At the moment, there is no decision taken, so the position of NEC still stands.
APC, they say, remains a strong united family and will continue to deploy its internal peace-building mechanism to meeting the demands of all members.
So that is why we are saying that in view of the crisis that will be generated from the congresses and the primaries before the general election, we should allow them to continue to act in that capacity.
That decision violates the constitution of the party and as well as the national constitution, and that decision, if allowed to stand, is capable of generating chaos within the party and also risking the parties and exposing it to danger as the 2019 election approaches.
They described the second NEC meeting as timely. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
In the meantime, the federal government has asked the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to go the whole hog with his apology to Nigerians by returning all the funds looted from the public treasury under his watch during his 16 years in power. In a statement issued in Abuja, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, equally challenged the party to show the genuineness of his apology through a discernible change of attitude. The minister said PDP presided over an unprecedented looting of the public treasury, perhaps the worst of its kind in Nigeria or anywhere else in the world. Therefore, the best evidence of penitence for such a party, he stressed, is not just to earn or to earn up and apologize, but to also return the looted funds, as anything short of that is mere deceit. Lai Mohammed added that even with the paucity of funds, the present administration has spent an unprecedented amount of money on infrastructure development and social investment program, among others. Therefore, returning the looted funds will provide more money for these programs and make life more meaningful for Nigerians. And so, there will be no better apology than that. The statement continued by reminding the PDP of the quote, "If you find yourself in a hole, stop digging," which applies to the PDP at this time. Lai Mohammed chided the PDP to press the reset button and start sabotaging the work of this administration, which is cracking the mess they left behind through their reckless statements and unfounded allegations. He also advised the party to play responsible opposition politics and put Nigeria's interest over and above partisan interest. The minister, however, advised the party to temper its desperation to return to power and spend quality time in the purgatory in his quest for forgiveness.
Now, mixed reactions continue to trail the apology tendered by the opposition People's Democratic Party to Nigerians for what it calls its past mistakes.
In this report, political correspondent Abdullahi Garba reviews some of the events that led PDP to its present status and what Nigerians say.
For 16 years, People's Democratic Party ruled Nigeria from 1999, when it had 28
governors, majority in the National Assembly, and of course at the center. The party, however, began to shrink, leading to its failure in 2015 elections, when it lost the center and was only to 11 governors. Part of the reasons advanced for the failure of the party include alleged looting of the treasury, especially when the country boasted of high foreign reserves, the deterioration of security situation, as well as impunity and lack of internal democracy in the party. At the national discourse organized by the party, PDP's current leadership came out to admit these mistakes and ask for forgiveness from Nigerians.
Apologize generally to Nigerians and ask for forgiveness.
But for the ruling All Progressives Congress and its chieftains, the apology is rather coming too late and unjustifiable.
We need to go beyond this groveling apology. They need to come clean and confess their sins. And then from that, Nigerians may now begin to consider what kind of atonement they will need to go through.
Is it the official saying that corruption and legalizing of corruption, that corruption, stealing isn't corruption?
What the administration is doing now is that by his frugal management of the economy, PDP feels that their looting propensity is being enhanced. They now want to confuse the Nigerians so that they can have another bite to their looting characteristics.
Other Nigerians have also been reacting to the PDP's apology.
If they win now, they will start where they stop again.
In Nigeria, or we the masses will accept the apology.
Now that we are going out from recession, so we can't still come back to the main bag again, so that this thing will continue like that. No, this year we can't vote for PDP and we can't forgive them.
Political observers say only time and events will tell whether the apology will hold water few months to the elections. In Abuja, Abdullahi Garba Kudu, NTA News.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, at a national colloquium on the commission beyond 2015, says a total of 7.9 million eligible voters have been added to the voter register within the first round of the just-ended continuous voter registration exercise.
Correspondent Timothy Yusuf reports that the chairman who also disclosed that the voter register is already on display from the 26th of March through Friday the 30th for claims and objections, restated the Commission's commitment to conducting a free, fair and credible 2019 general elections.
The colloquium convened by Independent Service Delivery Monitoring Group is essentially to find out the level of preparedness of INEC towards the 2019 general election.
For the 2019 elections, the ISDNG will be deploying cutting-edge technology in the field to ensure that history is properly documented. We have no iota of doubt in our minds that this INEC is set to break bounds, as evidence available to us suggests.
The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, votes will continue to truly count as the Commission strives to uphold the integrity of the ballot in subsequent elections. He explained that the new INEC has reduced election litigations to the barest minimum out of the 179 elections so far conducted under its watch.
The fact that the previous elections were actually determined by the courts rather than at the ballot boxes. When elections are conducted and there is minimal litigation, it's an indication that we are taking the right steps.
With about 325 days to the conduct of the 2019 general election, Professor Yakubu reassured Nigerians that the voter register will be cleaned up before the exercise. He thereafter unveiled a report of past elections held in Kogi, Bayelsa, Edo, Ondo, Rivers, FCT and Anambra, captioned INEC Beyond 2015, Overview, Challenges and Prospects, compiled by the Independent Service Delivery Monitoring Group. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
You can see that INEC is very ready for the next round of elections with 7.9 new voters, registered, 205 indicted officials of INEC suspended, and of course they've set the timetable coming. So we're on the way to free, fair and credible elections. What do you think?
Exactly, and I think eligible voters should take advantage of this enabling environment and go the whole length and demonstrate their franchise.
Of course, yes, when
the time comes.
Of course, everybody have to kill because it's a continuous exercise actually.
Exactly.
Can you take on now?
Meanwhile, former INEC chairman Professor Atahiru Jega has warned Nigerians against acts and conduct that may endanger the integrity of the 2019 general elections.
He was speaking at the 2018 Founders Day lecture of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies. Femi Okewo reports.
It is now less than a year to the 2019 general elections, and while so much has been done in terms of preparations, much more is still being expected, particularly in the area of execution of plans. Although there is still so much to be done on the field, lectures like this help to set the stage for the 2019 general elections. The Founders Day lecture of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies provided an opportunity for all concerned persons to make contributions towards enhancing the integrity of the 2019 general elections and examining the challenges and prospects, which was the topic of the lecture.
There is no issue in the fact that election is a fundamental tenet of democracy and rule of law in any democracy.
But the guest lecturer, Professor Atahiru Jega, brought in a wider perspective to the topic, warning that the responsibility of ensuring integrity in the Nigerian general elections does not lie with INEC alone. He said that politicians, lawmakers, the courts, security agencies and the general citizenry all have a significant role to play in ensuring the success of the elections.
What has been a major challenge for us in this country is that we have allowed our institutions to be very, very weak and to lack the capacity to protect and defend the integrity of the mandates that they are supposed to execute.
He warned on the implications of delaying legislations that will assist in the elections. And coming from someone who has seen it all, Nigerians will benefit from takeaways that he has been able to give in this lecture. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
The Senate has reacted strongly to allegations on the social media and national dailies that legislators have received bribes to pass budgets of ministries, departments and agencies.
National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegrore reports that this followed a point of order raised by Senator Peter Waboshe, representing Delta North.
The allegations of sharp practices by legislators have been circulating for several days, and the senators took exception to these with a call to bring to book those who are responsible for what they consider a smear campaign against the National Assembly.
It is unfortunate that many of us are being dragged into this unfortunate situation. I know that many of you did not collect that money. This is scandalous. So I think that to put this to rest and to let the public know and maintain the integrity of this house, this issue must be thoroughly investigated.
This matter impinges on the integrity of the entire this Senate for the last 2.5 years since we started. We never had this kind of report. This matter is referred to ethics and privileges and ensure that within a week you fully investigate this matter and bring a concise, accurate report for us to consider. Let us hold our comments until the end of the investigation and then we will decide what to do at that point.
The ongoing saga concerning Senator representing Kogi West, Dino Malai, and various allegations against him also came to the fore in a point of order raised by Senator Issa Misau representing Bauchi Central. The legislators believed that due process in the case has not been followed and a principle of democracy is to allow for tolerance of divergent views. They mandated the Joint Committees on Judiciary and Police to investigate the matter and report back in 2 days. Plenary was subsequently adjourned to allow APC senators to attend the second National Executive Committee meeting of the party. From the National Assembly, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
In the effort to strengthen democratic principles in Nigeria, the Buhari administration has taken up the challenge to clear all domestic debts.
It has therefore written to the House of Representatives requesting the passage of a bill to that effect. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
Speaker Yakubu Dogara read the executive communication to members highlighting the inherited obligations which President Muhammadu Buhari seeks to clear in the interest of national development.
Unpaid obligations to pensioners, salaries and promotional arrears to civil servants, obligations to petroleum marketers, contractors and suppliers, debts, unpaid power bills and obligations from tariff reversal in 2014, export expansion grant, EEG scheme debts, judgment debts.
Debts owed states by the federal government was also included among the obligations to be cleared.
Refunds to state governments for projects undertaken on behalf of the federal government.
Security matter was considered as Representative Bosun Oladele from Oyo State moved the motion on the need for security agencies to deploy security personnel to Irebo, Orelope, Olorishogo Federal Constituency of Oyo State to check what he described as part of killings in the area, as members observed a minute silence in honor of those killed during the attacks.
They stormed villages to maim, loot, and even kill in search of food.
And they've gone to about 200 villages within Oyo State or within that federal constituency alone. What have we done to strengthen our borders?
The House considered and approved the report of its committee on works on a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Road Maintenance Agency and to enact the Federal Roads Bill for the establishment of the Federal Road Authority. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The Senate Joint Committee on Drugs and Narcotics and Health has emphasized the need to strengthen the capacity of agencies charged with the responsibility of enforcing relevant laws that will check the abuse of drugs to enable them discharge their responsibility.
This was at a public hearing on the need to check the rising menace of pharmaceutical drug abuse among youth in Nigeria. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Ezumba takes it from here.
Following a motion on the need to check the abuse of drugs among youths, the Committee on Drugs and Narcotics and Health were mandated to put together needed legislative intervention to the menace. The President of the Senate, Abubakar Bukola Saraki, in a message called for urgent action to stem the tide.
We are now working on legislation to tighten the loose ends on this issue to ensure controls and also to make sure that victims get help and are rehabilitated. The Joint Committee is determined we have with the Senate and in concert with all stakeholders to address this issue of abuse of pharmaceutical drugs among the youth.
President, Pharmaceutical Association of Nigeria, Ahmed Yakase, wants a drafted policy for Nigeria.
To look at, the areas of abuse of drugs. There's an issue of whether, Nigeria should continue to criminalize or decriminalize.
In another development, the Federal Housing Authority and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria has appeared before the Senate Committee on Land, Housing and Urban Development to present their 2017 budget performance and proposal for 2018.
In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to do one of such cases of land acquisition in the city. For electoral collections, this year we are budgeting to collect 56.36 trillion.
In this, in anticipation of election of
the committee said it will embark on oversight visit to the Federal Housing Authority site to ascertain level of compliance with the 2017 appropriation. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Ezumba, NTA News.
The National Assembly says ecological degradation have largely devastated and reduced life expectancy, particularly in the rural communities across Nigeria.
And this was during a public hearing by the Senate Joint Committee on Ecology, Climate Change and Environment on a bill for an act to establish the Ecological Fund for the purpose of funding certain federal agencies dealing with environment and ecological problems. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Izumba again tells us the story.
The bill seeks to create a legal framework for the management of ecological fund to ensure its proper utilization for environment and ecological purposes. Declaring the hearing open, the Senate President in a message said the bill will bring accountability and credibility to the administration of the fund.
The reasoning behind the setting up of the ecological fund was not enough. Nigeria is beset with many environmental and ecological challenges, so loss of arable land through desertification and drought has led to the loss of grazing land, resulting to the migration of herdsmen migrating the entire cattle down south. The utilization of the ecological fund, particularly since the return of civilian rule in 1999, has been embroiled in endless controversies that in most cases are hinged on gross mismanagement.
The Director, Drought Desertification and Coastal Zone Management, Ecological Fund Office, said some of the observations raised on the bill has been taken care of.
This bill is talking about 2%, but we know it's 3%. What's going to happen to the local government, what's going to happen to states, and then the issue of disbursement allocations to various agencies. And what we have to actually fine-tune is the process of disbursement, so that it will not be lopsided at the end of the day.
The Joint Senate Committee is optimistic that if the bill is passed into law, it will not impose financial burden on the federal government. Rather, it will ensure proper and timely disbursement of funds to agencies charged with responsibility of tackling ecological and environmental problems. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Izumba, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Time from first break, but when we return,
international observers and donor agencies meet ahead of runoff elections in Sierra Leone. Details after the break.
Times of economic hardship, they look for any excuse, human beings, to, as I said, do inhuman things.
One of the major issues is the issue of corruption, which President Buhari is tackling head on. It's difficult, but it's going to be wrong.
Join us every week on the spot. It is incisive, it is authoritative, as we put you on the spot every Friday at 8 p.m. Join us.
Thanks for staying with us on the news at 10. President Ernest Koroma.
Now, throughout the 20th century, part of the modernists revolted against the use of traditional materials in fine arts and the desire to prove that art can be made out of anything. Now, hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the program Visual Impressions on NTA. I am Umar Mohammed. Now, artists have been creating unique artworks using unusual materials, including trash. Yes, you heard me right, I said trash. Why don't you sit back and take a look at some of these clips. Junk art was first coined by British art critic and curator Lawrence Alloway in 1961. Junk art can also be traceable to 20th century art by Picasso, Duchamp, and Sheeters. It also has its analogies linked to Dada art.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've been doing. You don't come about ideas. Ideas look for you. And if you're a good channel and you're ready and you're capable, the ideas will flow through you as a message for the society or the community in which you find yourself. Those who never taste sugar can never tell how sweet it is. So people say a lot of things, but first of all, you ask somebody, what is your source of information? If you don't have any experience about using junk to make art, you're not qualified to talk about it.
Dale Humphrey, who adopted the moniker The Junk Man from Africa, was born in 1960 in Enugu State, Nigeria. He recycles and transforms heaps of old clothing found on city streets, creating sculptural installations and performances that reflect the disenfranchised situations of many African people. We caught up with him in Abuja, where he organized a workshop in collaboration with German Embassy. The workshop was aimed at promoting the culture of improvisation and to see how the human mind can continuously get creative.
Yes, I am here on the invitation of the German Embassy. And they had a program here called One Environment. It was just a coincidence, but my presence here was an enhancement to that, because it was about environment and how to make the best out of junk and all that. That's not actually what I do, because what I do is having done conventional studies in art, both in Nigeria and abroad, and having taught art in different universities, having worked in all conventional materials and methods, I studied also anthropology and philosophy along the line. And from that angle, I discovered that if you want to talk about any society, you go to their backyard, you go to their junk, because the junk of a people depicts their worldview, their attitudes, their behaviors. If you're a careless person, you have more broken things in your house. If you're a very careful person, you have more older things that still look new. And that attitude can be individual, can be societal.
Oh, it was a great experience. Great in the sense that having been trained as a painter and having been a studio artist for some time, you get to become streamlined into a certain pattern of creativity. But getting involved in this workshop, you become open to new ideas, new ways of thinking from the conventional. For me, it was more or less like an explosion of discovering oneself afresh. You get to meet with people, ask questions, and then we had to have sessions with the junk man, trying to know and discover his source of inspiration, getting to know how he became acquainted with these materials that people would tend to see as discarded elements. But then you get to understand that in the line of creativity, there's no limit. So why is it that we limit ourselves to colors, you limit yourself to pencils, to crayon, as the case may be, or to pastels? But in this workshop, we're told to explore other things, other items that we find around us. Discarded items, yes they are, but they can be a source of beauty, like the work depicts behind me. That was created by discarded items. You have fabrics, you have your nylon, you have the Coca-Cola crown cork and all that. But put together, there's a fusion of materials, and then the whole concept of creativity is laid to bear to give a beautiful piece. It took me days of working morning till evening. It was just endless. First, for most of us in the workshop, because it was new, so the idea of battling with it psychologically, how can I be working with these things that I throw away? Why? You understand? So you thank God for the sessions we had first to like unwind and remove all those inhibitions we had about working with waste, so to say. The session started first before we went into the workshop. So we had to like go through a mental process of removing those blockades in our minds, of trying to limit creativity to a specific type.
The venue of the one environment, and they ran parallel to the workshop, so participants were between the two. And the concepts I introduce, it's not about making objects as art, it's not about painting and sculpture, it's about creativity as a tool, and the blockages, factors that block creativity. So both artists and non-artists and people from other professions actually benefited from that. I have the tools, I have the ways to show, facilities to show, and the knowledge to show, and educate people on what is blocking them, ignorance, their mind, the mindset, and all that. So I have made it open and made myself available for corporate institutions, schools, associations, artists, and all groups who are interested in the change, in a change that lasts, not by complaint or strikes or placards, but by changing the minds of the people, the mindset of the people, and showing them that you can be creative in whatever you do. You don't need to be an artist to have the license to create. The materials are everywhere. Every culture, every society, every environment, every people produce junk. So it's a ready material. Well, they have used and misused and abused and abandoned, are dumped everywhere. And in some places on the streets, in some places in some garbage areas. You pick what has the traces that you're looking for, reflecting the societal behaviors.
Junkman Africa created the Junkyard Museum of Awkward Things, a sculptural environment built up from found objects in Lagos. Recycling old junk not only benefits the environment, It breathed new life into old objects that were once destined for the bin. All these were made from common things discarded every day. Chicken sculpture made from eggshells. Handbag made from computer keyboard. An igloo made from stacks of books. Ball gown made from recycled blue jeans. Cigarette butts used to make a sculptured rabbit. And finally, we have pixel art made from crayon.
This is the gentleman from Africa.
Keep watching.
Keep watching
Visual Impressions.
Visual Impressions
on NTA.
On NTA.
Those artists who have created impressive works of art made from those recycled materials certainly believe that one man's trash is another man's treasure. Maybe those amazing handiworks will inspire you to roll up your sleeves and empty out the trash. Now let's quickly go on a break. The place where artworks are publicly displayed in Ahmadu Bello University is called A. Museum of Arts, B. Arts Garden, and C. Sculpture Garden.
That's Romeo.
MJ5 is a 5-member all-male dance crew which was formed in 2013 by Shri Khanna, one of its members. In 2013, the group clinched the cup of India's reality show Dancing Superstar with the unique moonwalk and sleep moves. The smooth operators mesmerized the audience with just a little energy. The place where artworks are publicly displayed in Ahmadu Bello University is called A. Museum of Arts, B. Arts Garden, and C. Sculpture Garden. C is the correct answer. Sculpture Garden is a cultural resource point in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. The garden, full of sculptures, can boast of over 150 sculptures.
Came as a student here in the year 1981 to meet the Sculpture Garden. And based on my understanding, collection of graduating students' projects. So, more especially for those majoring in sculpture, is part of the curriculum is that you must produce a project before graduation. And the garden then became a place where the products are kept.
The Sculpture Garden of Fine Art Department at Ahmadu Bello University started many years ago in the late 70s, when it was discovered that student projects and sculptural pieces are getting many, and the department didn't want to just wait them. The space was created to house, these sculptural pieces, so that visitors can come and see, and can be also inspiration, to students coming. The Sculpture Garden contain different subject matters, including important, personality in the society, politicians and academicians that have made, inputs, important input in development of the nation. For instance, the sculpture piece here is the stylized figure of late Gani Odutoku, a great painter and illustrator who has developed and trained many great artists in this country. This person has done a lot, and he died in service. He went for exhibition in Lagos when he died in an accident. So this is sort of made to commemorate him, so that people will know that we have great people like this.
Ahmadu Bello University is one of the earliest universities established in Nigeria, which has greatly contributed to art worldwide. The school is viewed as one of the foundation schools for the training of modern artists in Nigeria. The Department of Fine Arts is said to be the oldest school of art in Nigeria, and probably amongst the first 3 early schools of art in modern Africa.
Talking about Sculpture Garden here, people do come here for relaxation, tourism, and so on, to snap pictures, so to say picnic, whatever you can do it here when we talk of relaxation. I like this sculpture. This is my favorite sculpture because of the smile on the sculpture. I do like kids, so that's why I just like this. I like this place, the department, everything about it. I love it.
It's dynamic in nature. Everything I do see here, it's so fine, and I like it because it's a good creature from human beings. And every day I do come here, I see something as in what they create here, it's so spiritual and intellectual that even make me want to maybe draw them. Actually, I'm a social science, but it makes me feel as if I'm really an art student.
This is my best sculpture in the middle of this place because of the unique material used. When you check around, this material the person used is very unique, using tires to create something. And the title of the work is Let's Play. So I feel the person decided to play with these materials, which is very nice to me. And I'm someone who loves to explore materials, and that's why this work attracted me to it so much.
I want to actually talk on this sculptural piece here. Most times people tend to appreciate art. Art is beautiful, and people tend to appreciate it, but fail to look at the deep meaning of what it is. Like this sculpture here, if you look at it, it is pleasing to the eye, but it has a lot of meaning attached to it. Like this ant you're seeing and this one here, the sculpture itself represents the Nigerian industry and how it has been neglected. And those ants here represent how it has, because of the negligence, and they are eating it up. So it is actually a message by the artist that calling the government the people in general to put much interest in building or developing our industries. It will help. So sometimes art, the major meaning of art is not just for the beauty or aesthetic meaning. It is also for us to give message of things that are happening in our economy.
Well, you will now see that we've gone beyond the sculpture garden. If you go outside the campus, you see some pieces there. So you as a student may come up with a project and we discuss with us. So we can go around within the university and get a space where you do the project. That is to help in checking against the problem of space there. Then secondly, there are works that must have overstayed and are about being destroyed. So we will replace such works with new ones that are coming up. I will wish that artists are being brought in as a part of the policymakers and allowed to implement whatever program they
Visit www.ayeonline.org or call 0700 044 4444. IE 2018, showcasing and empowering Nigerian entrepreneurs.
Along a flyway, seasonally, birds migrate often north and south between breeding and wintering grounds. Many species migrate, and these occur naturally on one hand, even though out of necessity compelled by other environmental factors on the other hand. This migration carries high cost in predation and mortality, including hunting by humans. Migration is driven primarily
This is the network service of the NTA.
A very warm welcome to our program from the National Assembly. My name is Dennis Adigmwe. Well, the proceedings on the floor of the Senate have just commenced with petitions and various points of order that have been raised by some senators. I have with me, as usual, the distinguished chairman of the Senate Committee on Rules and Business, Baba Kakagabai, to give us a brief on the highlights we're expecting on today's sitting. You're welcome, distinguished. Just give us a brief overview of what we can expect today.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, for having me on your program. Good morning, viewers. The order paper for today, which captures the proceedings of the Senate today, actually is loaded with so many issues. We have the first item on the order paper is a report from the Committee on Primary Health Care, chaired by Senator Mao Habunwa, on the establishment bill for National Center for Disease Control Prevention, Establishment Bill 2018. The second item on the order paper, which is also in the segment on the presentation of reports, is a report from Committee on Defense, headed by Senator Abubakar Kyari, representing Borno North, on influx of refugees from the Republic of Cameroon to some border communities in Cross River State. Then the third item is the face of as a result of the attempted arrest of some former EFCC or former NIA DSS Director General and also the NIA, the DSS Director General. So a committee headed by Senator Francis Alime Hena is scheduled to present its report today, will be laid today on the floor of the Senate. Then we also have the third being, these are two financial reports from Committee on Communication, chaired by Senator Gilbert Naji, representing Enugu East, on proposed budget of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, and also Universal Service Provision Fund, USPF. The two will be laid today on the floor of the Senate. Then the second segment, in the second segment we have motions. The first motion being the motion to be presented by Senator Victor Ume, representing Anambra Central. So it's on actually the need to admit Eastern Rail lines in the Nigerian Railway Development Project. So actually the motion has two resolutions. The motion will be discussed on the floor of the Senate and the resolutions will be taken. And we also have second motion by Senator Umaru Kuripi, representing Katsina Central. That one also is talking about a massive failure year in, year out, in WAEC, that is West Africa Examination Council. So they need to take some measures in order to ensure that children that are sitting for WAEC actually pass the exams, at least they get the minimum results expected of them. Then the third being a motion from Senator James Manager, representing Delta South. After that, we have two reports again, presentation and consideration of reports. Conference Committee report on Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which will be presented by Senator Alasha Adura, representing Ondo Central. So Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, it has been on for a very long time. So we had, I'm a member of the committee, of the conference committee. We had a meeting yesterday of the conference committee report between the committee in the House and also the Senate. We were able to come off with a common position. So that common position will now be laid and also be adopted in the Senate. So also in the House of Representatives. So before we go on break, we would like to transmit this PIG, Petroleum Industry Governance Bills, to Mr. President for his assent. Then the second is Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Bill. That is also a report to be presented by Senator Obinna Ogba, representing Ebonyi Central. So I think after that we are also going into another set of reports. So there are about 3 reports ranging from Real Estate Regulation and Development Bill to reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition. And we also have alleged resumption of Executive Secretary of National Human Rights Commission to office without confirmation of the Senate. That actually will also be taken by Senator David Umoru. Then we have a total of 10 bills that are supposed to be read the second time. So these are the things that we have on the order paper today.
Well, I'll let you get back to the floor. Obviously, it's going to be a busy day on the floor of the Senate, so I'll let you get back. Thank you, sir. Well, proceedings are ongoing, so let's cross over right now to tune into the proceedings.
To a circular being released to MDAs that the 2017 budget funds will be moved up by 31st of March. Mr. President, this circular to agencies is causing panic in the system, it's causing panic in the country. Mr. President may note that the 2017 Appropriations Act, which was signed by Mr. President in May last year, clearly states in section 11 of the explanatory of the Appropriations Act, section 11, it says that In line with the provisions of Section 318 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, this act shall run for 12 months, starting from the date it is accepted into law, notwithstanding the provisions of Section 1 of this act. Mr. President, by this provision, it means that the budget cycle of 2017 should run from May to the end of May. Now, Mr. President, there's a circular that money should be moved up on 31st March. The danger about this is that some agencies, some MDAs, especially, I give a particular example like SDG, just got money for special projects only last week. Some contracts have not even been awarded. So, Mr. President, how can they award contracts and these contracts, the money utilized before the end of 31st of March? So, Mr. President, I'm bringing this to the attention of this Senate so that this Senate will resolve to direct the agency of the Ministry of Finance to rescind this circular and let the budget work according to the Appropriations Act, which ends in 31st of May, where the President has signed this in compliance with the Appropriations Act. So, Mr. President, I urge the Senate to take a decision to direct that whatever circular that is being issued should be withdrawn and let the budget take its 12th cycle. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, no, personal explanation. So you cannot debate on it. But I think it's a very straightforward matter. The Minister of Finance hasn't got the powers to say that the accounts should close by March. It's 12 months and it goes to May. So that definitely, the Chairman of Appropriations is not here, Chairman of Finance, both of you are here, and to communicate straight to the Minister of Finance and all agencies that the budget was passed to run 12 months and it must run 12 months. The issue of mopping up end of March is not acceptable and it's totally against the Appropriation Act, and they should comply and abide by the Appropriation Act. Yes, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Primary Health Care and Communicable Disease on the National Center for Disease Control Prevention Establishment Bill 2018. Mr. President, you may wish to invite Senator Mao Obama, Chairman of the Committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Yes, Senator Mao Obama.
Mr. President, distinguished Senator, my name is Senator Mao Obama, representing the people of Abia North. Mr. President, I move that receive the report of the Committee on Primary Health on the National Center for Disease Control Prevention Establishment Bill 2018 SB 256. I move, Mr. President.
Senator John Eno.
Mr. President, my name is John Eno, Cross River Central. I second the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on the National Center for Disease Control, Prevention, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Health on the National Center for Disease Control, Prevention, Establishment, etc. Bill 2018 SB 256. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Mao, come and lead the report.
Excellency.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Defense on the influx of refugees from the Republic of Cameroon to some border communities in Cross River State. Mr. President, you may wish this.
Accordingly, Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, we should direct the Committee on Education, that is basic and secondary, to summons the Minister of Education and Head of National Office of Secondary Examination Council and any relevant stakeholder. The problem for interactive session to identify the causes of WAEC regarding mass failure rate and recommend appropriate measures to overcome the challenge. Secondly, direct the committee to submit a comprehensive report to the Senate within 1 month. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, let us remember finally, Mr. President, the education legacy which we have now inherited from our former leaders, that is Dr. Lemende Azukwe, Dr. Abubakar, Chief of Awolo, and Mr. Ahmed Bello Sardona, should not be left undisputed.
The WAEC. And to add to that, you know, in this country we have that policy of passing every student, whether you fail or not, at a point. So when you continue passing every student, whether he fails or not, maybe a student achieves 30% of the total mark in an exam, and there is a policy stating that the teacher has the right to put that student, if you are in primary 3, or let's say you are in JS3, then that student now graduates from JS3 to SS1 to SS2 and SS3. And that student who is lacking in one aspect is expected to write WAEC. What miracle do we expect that student should pass? Mr. President, we have to take our educational system very serious. And those concerned with the policy of formulating our curriculum should sit up. If not, we have our future due. With this quick contribution, Mr. President, I support this motion and then urge government to take the educational system very seriously if we should have a future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, these are perilous times, and our future is at stake here. If the basics, which is the WAEC, the basic requirement to move ahead, is this bad, then this calls for serious concern. Mr. President, our problems are very many. It is important for us to look at the entire value chain of education, starting from the primary education to the tertiary education. We need to do a re-evaluation and see where the missing links are right now. Because in the past, Mr. President, every parent reveled in the ability of their children to do well at school. Now it is not so. Our values have changed. People now assist their children to go and do fake exams. How can that sort of child do well when there is no time for cheating? And that is where we are now. We need to do a complete evaluation of the entire educational system. Two, Mr. President, it is important for us to look at teacher education. The teachers are very crucial at this point in time. They are the ones that teach us. When you have teachers who are not properly educated, cannot speak good English, cannot even write them, cannot do research, how will you expect that the children they teach will do well in their exams? Mr. President, we need to sit up because that's our future, that's our tomorrow, that's the tomorrow of this country. And we cannot allow our educational system to fall into such disrepair without taking very serious look at it and ensuring that we plug all the loopholes as soon as possible. The die is cast. We need to do something urgently. Thank you, Mr. President.
Prayers. Prayer 1, direct the Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary to summon the Honorable Minister of Education and the Head National Office of the WAEC and any relevant stakeholders connected with this problem for interactive session to identify the causes of WAEC recurring mass failure rate and recommend appropriate measures to overcome the challenge. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, direct the committee to submit a comprehensive report to the Senate within 1 month. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, let me thank Senator Kofi for this important motion. As we discussed yesterday, we have all said that one of the greatest issues we must address is increasing value of our human resources through education and health. So an issue of this recurring failure, mass failure WAEC is of great concern, and we must get to the bottom of it, and I hope that the committee would swing into action and address these issues. I know that later on this month, my office is coordinating a roundtable discussion, which I would like all our colleagues to participate fully in it, so that we can also use that to address some of these areas of our education sector that needs serious reform. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is a motion standing in the name of Senator James Manager on the landslide in Tuomo, in Burutu local government area of Delta State, and the imminent caving in the town, the need for urgent intervention. Mr. President, you recall that yesterday, Tuesday, the 27th of March 2018, the Senate via our standing order 42 sub 2 of our standing order approved that this motion be moved on the next legislative day, which is today. Accordingly, you may wish to invite Senator James Manager to move this motion.
Senator James Manager.
Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South. Mr. President, this is a motion brought to the attention of this Senate and indeed the entire country by my humble self about what is happening in Tuomo town in Burutu local government area, Delta State of Nigeria. Whereas on the 14th of March 2018, the inhabitants of Tuomo town in Burutu local government area of Delta State were woken up by devastating and progressive landslides. Aware that this landslide has caused a near collapse of the shore protection wall built to prevent the moving waters from flooding and overtaking the community. Aware that right now many houses are at the brink of collapse or at a point of caving in due to the force of the waters. Worried that if something is not done urgently, Mr. President, the situation would degenerate to a colossal disaster. Aware that the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs are the relevant bodies to bring succor to the people in this regard. Accordingly, Senate resolves as follows. 1. Mandate the Committee on Niger Delta to visit and inspect Tuomo town and report on the content of the motion within 7 days. 2. urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to immediately take relief materials and services to the people of Tuomo Town. And 3, urge the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, and the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta first to take steps to prevent the said shore protection wall from total collapse. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, when I got wind of these developments, I had to be there physically to inspect things for myself on Friday, just last week Friday. And if nothing is done, because we are talking about landslides, and the Tuomo Town is an oil-bearing community, which is very important, not just to Tuomo Town, not just to Delta State, but also Nigeria. Mr. President, this is something that is about natural disaster, and very urgent steps must be taken to avert it. Mr. President, I thank you for your attention.
Senator Porker.
I told you. Mr. President, Senator Porker Emmanuel is my name, representing Bayelsa Central. Mr. President, I share the concerns of my brother, Senator Manager. As a riverine person, and the last slide, if not addressed quickly, will lead to a lot of disaster. People in that area normally suffer this fate. And I make bold to say that, just like Senator Manager mentioned, this is a community not being important to the Delta State alone. The community is equally important to the entire country because it's an oil-producing community. Mr. President, the motion is very straightforward. I join my brother in saying that the resolution is seeking from Senate be granted so that government will go into quick action to addressing this problem. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Foster.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I am Foster Ogola. I represent Bayelsa West Senatorial District. And these people affected are also my people. Tuomo community is a peaceful town, an economic giant in the Brutu local government and the Joe Nation. This thing that has happened, Mr. President, goes beyond just palliative relief measures. I believe the Niger Delta Development Commission, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, and the Federal Ministry of Works should be engaged properly to design a sustainable shore control program for this community. It is only one of such communities, and some work has been done before, I think by the Niger Delta Development Commission, and it did not hold water. This colossal landslide has affected them. And so I'm urging all our colleagues to support this motion, and at the appropriate time, when the prayers are taken, I crave the indulgence of Mr. President that we should bring additional prayers.
Thank you, distinguished. Prayer 1, mandate the Committee on Niger Delta to visit and inspect the Tuomo Town and report on the content of the motion within 7 days. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge NEMA to immediately take relief material and services to the people of Tuomo Town. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Urge the Niger Delta Development Commission and Federal Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs to take steps to prevent the said shore protection wall from total collapse. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Any additional prayer? Yes, Senator Foster. Yeah.
We are all aware of the limitation of funds or paucity of funds in the NDDC.
Prayer.
The Ecological Fund should be called upon to deploy a sustainable shore protection for Tuomo community.
Seconder. Senator James Manja.
Thank you, Mr. President. James Manja, Delta South. I second the motion as moved by Senator Foster Ogla. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good question.
Those in favor of the additional prayer that the ecological fund to be used to fund the sedge protection wall from total collapse. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very respected colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the Conference Committee report on the Petroleum Industry and Governance Bill 2018. Distinguished senators will recall that the Senate and the House passed different versions of the Petroleum Industry and Governance Bill 2018. The Conference Committee of both houses have met and harmonized the differences in accordance with Senate Standing Order H7. Mr. President, you may wish to invite very distinguished Senator Don and Elisha Dura to move the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the conference report.
Senator Elisha Dura.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Tayo Elisha Dura, representing Ondo Central Senatorial District of Ondo State. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the Petroleum Industry and Governance Bill 2018. I so move.
Senator Gershom Bassi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gershom Bassi, Cross River South Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the Petroleum Industry and Governance Bill 2018. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive and consider the Conference Committee report on the Petroleum Industry and Governance Bill 2018, SB 237. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Elisha, come and lay the conference report. Senator Elisha, kindly present your report.
The Senate President, distinguished colleagues, my name again is Senator Tayo Elisha Dura, representing Ondo Central Senatorial District of Ondo State. Conference Committee report on a bill for an act to provide for the governance and institutional framework for the petroleum industry and for other related matters, 2018. Introduction. The Petroleum Industry Governance Bill was passed by the Senate on 25th May 2017 and in the House of Representatives on 25 January 2018. A conference committee of both chambers was constituted to resolve the differences and harmonize the bills passed. Membership. The conference committee consists of the following members: Senator Tayo Elisha Dura, Senator Kabir Marafa, Senator Albert Bassi Akpan, Senator Gershom H. Bassi, Senator Philip Aduda, Senator Molayaji Abubakar, and Senator Babakaka Garbe. House of Representatives. Honorable Victor Nwokolo, Honorable Wajok Edward Gang, Honorable Lawal Abubakar Garba, Honorable Henry Nwawuba, Honorable Kende Odeleye, Honorable Sheriff Noor Muhammad, Honorable Johnson Oguma. Modus. The conference committee met on Tuesday, 27th March 2018, scrutinized the various clauses in the bills, identified the areas of difference, and agreed on which version of the bill to adopt in each case. The conference committee observed differences in the clauses of the bill as follows. Clause 4.6, Senate version adopted. Clause 6, Senate version numbered and adopted. Clause 19.3, Senate version adopted. Clause 26.2e, Senate version adopted. Clause 36.1a, Senate version adopted. Clause 38f, House version adopted. Clause 43.2, adopted. Clause 47.1c, Senate version adopted. Clause 56.1b, House version adopted. Clause 65.3, Senate version adopted. Clause 95.5, Senate version adopted. Part 8, Clause 127, House version adopted. That is the title. The recommendation. The conference committee recommends for the adoption and approval of the harmonized version of the bill as follows. That the Senate do consider and approve the conference committee report on a bill for an act to provide for the governance and institutional framework for the petroleum industry and for other related matters 2018 as recommended. Conclusion. On behalf of the members of the conference committee, we wish to thank the National Assembly for the opportunity given to us to work on the bill. We so move.
Any comments if I put the question? Yes, Senator James Manja.
Not just the conference committee from the Senate, but also the entire committee that worked on this particular project. Because if you take a critical look at the areas of conflict and how they were resolved, it is very clear that they did a good job. And because they did a good job, it was not difficult for the House Conference Committee members to agree with you. Out of almost 12 areas of conflict that were resolved, about 8 or 9 were resolved in favor of the Senate. Am I correct? Yes. Thank you, Senator Omotayo Alasadora. You have done a good job with your members. So God be the glory. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Senator Foster Ogala. Yes, Senator Foster Ogala, you can help.
My dear President of the Senate and my distinguished colleagues, I second the motion. I was trying to move something, sir. Somebody is confusing me. Mr. President, I believe we have done a thorough job on this bill, and therefore we do not need further debate. I therefore urge you to put the question.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, I dare put the question. Those in favor that the Senate do consider and approve the conference committee report on the Petroleum Industry and Governance Bill 2018, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I want to join others in commending the committee, not only the Senate committee and also the House committee, in being able to put together these conference reports that's come before us. I think one of the challenges has always been the fact that is to be able to get consensus on an issue as important as this, and I'd also lay the foundation for the other bills that are coming. And I think we have again shown to not only investors in the country and outside the country that this National Assembly is very responsible in its area to do with laws regards the petroleum sector. So I commend you for this, and I'm sure with this we'll hopefully get the assent of Mr. President and open a new page in the petroleum industry in Nigeria. Leader of the Senate.
Well, the urgent need to include the Eastern rail lines in the National Railway Development Project of federal governments have received overwhelming support from the legislators. This came in a motion moved by Senator representing Anambra Central, Victor Ume. The critical issues include converting the outdated narrow gauge Eastern rail line to a modern standard gauge rail line. This would radically reduce the cost of transportation of people and commodities across the Federation, and it is expected that once completed, this would give the people of the Southeast and the South-South a greater sense of inclusion in this great project of the federal government. Senator representing Katsina Central, Umaru Kurfi, also moved a motion on the urgent need to investigate the root causes of the mass failure of the West African Examination Council examinations. Of recent, we have been seeing this disturbing trend, and the senators have resolved that they will interface with the Minister of Education and the head of the National Office of the West African Examination Council to identify these causes and come up with recommendations to overturn these challenges. Just concluded was a call for the National Emergency Management Agency and officials to visit the Tuomo town, which suffered a landslide about 2 weeks ago. This came in a motion moved by Senator representing Delta South, James Manager. It is expected that further investigations into what caused this landslide will be conducted, and steps will be expected to be put into place to avert such a tragedy from reoccurring. Just in the process of going on now is a committee of the whole on the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which is being debated by the senators. But this is where we come to the end of this transmission, live from the network service of the NTA. My name is Dennis Adigunle. On behalf of the Outside Broadcasting crew, we hope you enjoyed the viewing, and we'll see you next week.
I don't understand though. Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants is said, you know good. Me, I not do again sound. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you will have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, reach level! Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law. I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins
thing. This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Sneakers is a synonym for athletic shoes, the generic name for footwear primarily designed for physical exercise. It is usually designed with flexible sole made of rubber and an upper part of leather or canvas. Sneakers go back a long way. In the late 18th century, people wore rubber-soled shoes called plimsolls, but they were pretty crude. For one thing, there was no right foot or left foot. Around 1892, the U.S. Rubber Company came up with more comfortable rubber sneakers with canvas tops called Kids. By 1917, the sneakers began to be mass-produced. They got the nickname sneakers because they were so quiet.